Most men are afraid of being alone, not because they don't have people around them, not because they don't have access to others, but because when the noise disappears, they are left with themselves. No distractions, no messages lighting up their phone, no one watching, no one validating them, just silence. And in that silence, something uncomfortable begins to rise. Their thoughts, their insecurities, their doubts, their unfinished potential. This is the place most men avoid at all costs. They drown it with music, with scrolling, with meaningless conversations, with anything that keeps them from sitting still. Because the truth is, a man who cannot sit alone cannot stand strong. And that is where most men break. But a rare few, they don't run from it. They step into it. And that is where they become powerful. Chapter 1. The truth about loneliness. Being alone is not the problem. Weakness is. You don't suffer because you're alone. You suffer because you've never trained yourself to handle it. From a young age, most men are conditioned to rely on something external. Approval, attention, entertainment. There is always something filling the void. So when that void finally appears, it feels unbearable. But the Stoics understood something most modern men have forgotten. Loneliness is not an enemy. It is a mirror. It reflects who you are when nothing is covering you. No personality masks, no social performance, no distractions to hide behind. Just you. And most men, when they face that version of themselves, they don't like what they see. They see inconsistency. They see wasted time. They see potential that hasn't been acted on. So instead of confronting it, they escape it. But every time you escape solitude, you delay your growth. Because growth only happens when there is nowhere left to run. Chapter 2. The modern man's reality. Picture this. It's early morning, 6:30 a.m. Your alarm goes off. You reach for your phone. No messages, no notifications, no one checking on you, no one asking how you are. You sit up in silence, and for a moment, it feels heavy. You make your coffee, still quiet. You scroll for a second, hoping for something. Nothing meaningful. Then you get up and go to the gym. You walk in alone, no training partner, no one waiting for you. Just you and the weights. Set after set, rep after rep. No applause, no recognition. No one telling you you're doing a good job. Just effort. After the gym, life continues. Work, responsibilities, pressure. You carry it alone. No one sees the stress on your mind. No one feels the weight you're carrying. And later that night, you sit down to eat, alone again. The TV might be on, but it doesn't fill the silence. You look around and realize, if you stop trying, nothing would move forward. No one is coming to push you. No one is coming to save you. And in that moment, the doubt begins. Am I doing enough? Is this even worth it? Why does it feel like I'm the only one going through this? This is where most men fold, not because they're incapable, but because they're uncomfortable being alone with the weight of responsibility. Chapter 3. The turning point. But this is where everything changes, because the Stoic doesn't see this as suffering. He sees it as training. Being alone is not abandonment, it is refinement, because when you are alone, there are no excuses left. You can't blame others. You can't rely on others. You can't wait for others. It's just you and your choices. And that's where power begins. Because every time you wake up and still choose discipline, you are building something most men never develop: self-trust. You begin to trust your actions, your consistency, your ability to keep going even when no one is watching. And once a man builds self-trust, he no longer needs constant motivation. He no longer depends on how he feels. He becomes stable, grounded, unshaken. This is the turning point. When loneliness stops feeling like pain and starts feeling like control. Chapter 4. The Power of Solitude. A man who can operate alone is a man who cannot be controlled, because he is no longer dependent on external energy. He doesn't need hype to perform. He doesn't need validation to continue. He doesn't need approval to move forward. He moves because he decided to. That's it. He trains when it's quiet. He works when it's boring. He improves when it feels slow. And because of that, he separates himself from everyone else, while others are distracted. He is focused. While others need attention, he is building. While others are waiting for the perfect moment, he is already in motion. And over time, that gap becomes massive because solitude sharpens a man. It forces him to think clearly, to act intentionally, to become precise with his time and energy. There is no wasted movement, no wasted effort. Everything becomes deliberate. That's power. Not loud, not emotional, not performative, just controlled and dangerous in its consistency. Chapter 5. What he faces daily. But don't mistake this for ease. This path is not comfortable. Every day he still faces the same battles: loneliness, temptation, distraction, doubt, the urge to check his phone constantly, the urge to compare himself to others, the urge to escape into comfort. There are days where it feels pointless, days where progress feels invisible, days where quitting feels easier than continuing. But this is where he separates himself, because instead of running from discomfort, he leans into it. He sits in silence and thinks deeper. He uses the pain as fuel. He turns isolation into clarity. He begins to understand himself at a level most people never reach. He sees his patterns, his weaknesses, his strengths, and he refines them day by day, not for recognition, not for applause, but because he refuses to remain average. Chapter 6. The Transformation. And then one day, something shifts. The same man who once felt alone now feels in control. The silence that once felt heavy now feels peaceful. The doubt that once slowed him down now sharpens his focus. He no longer needs constant connection to feel grounded. He becomes his own foundation, and because of that, others begin to notice, not because he's trying to be seen, but because his presence is different. Calm, focused, unshaken. He doesn't chase attention, he attracts respect. Because deep down, people can sense it. This is a man who has faced himself and didn't run. So understand this. Being alone is not your weakness. It is your advantage. It is where discipline is built, where clarity is found, where identity is forged. It is where you become dangerous in the best way. So stop fearing it. Stop escaping it. Step into it. Because most men will spend their entire lives avoiding themselves. But the man who embraces solitude becomes unstoppable. Stay disciplined, stay focused, and build the Roman within.